All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our September virtual meeting. And, I know some of you guys are probably not going to be from HAS because we have a cool guest today. But for those of you who are new to our channel, we are the Honolulu Aquarium Society. We are basically the main, and I don't know if we're the only one, but we're like the main aquarium club here in Hawaii and Honolulu. And yeah, I mean, due to COVID, concerns, we cannot have in-person meetings, obviously. So that's why we do these virtual meetings. And unfortunately, we can't do the auction like we normally do, and all the fun things that we would normally do in our regular HAS meetings. But what a good thing about these virtual meetings is it allows us to really um, get amazing guests that probably could not come to Honolulu to do a presentation. And that is definitely the case today because we have Steven Chong. You are a former HAS member. You are in Japan now, doing great things in the aquascaping world and community. And he is here to talk about his career, his recent success in the IAPLC, um, which is a world aquascaping competition, like the biggest one that is out there. All the pros compete, and we'll talk about his, second place finish, which is really impressive. And yeah, I mean, and we can answer some of you guys' questions. I know some of you guys submitted questions for Steven, and we can get those asked, and he can answer them in the stream. So without further ado, Steven, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I know we were talking about this, thinking about whenever I was going to come home to Hawaii for winter vacation or whatever. But
Yeah,
this probably worked out better. This is the new
yeah,
normal.
honestly,
Yeah, it's just now it doesn't really matter where anyone is, so we'll just go for it. But yeah, thank you for the introduction. As mentioned, I'm Steven Chong from the Tokyo Aquascaping Union, formerly Honolulu Aquarium Society, circa 2003, 4, 5, I want to say. So I was in high school at
mm,
Punho, just like you. We were talking a bit
yeah,
before the live stream started, but yeah, that's where I started off with aquariums. And again, I was also a member of the Honolulu Aquarium Society. If you're in Hawaii and you are going to be in and around this hobby, I definitely recommend joining because first of all, there's discounts at all the shops, or there were back in the day, and
still is.
and because you get to meet lots of cool people, everyone who's really passionate about the hobby. So quick
Yeah.
introduction of myself. My name is Steven Chong. I'm from Hawaii originally. I now live and work in Tokyo, and I'm an aquascaper, which is a planted aquarium designer. Use rock, wood, stone, and grow live plants in order to make miniature landscape art inside an aquarium. I'm a competitive aquascaper, which means that I compete. I participate in all the international contests. A quick rundown: in 2018, I ranked world rank 5 in the IAPLC, the International Aquatic Plant Layout Contest, which is the oldest, most well-known contest. The next year, in 2019, I actually competed in all 3 major international contests: the IAPLC, the IIAC, which is now a rising international contest out of Taiwan, and also
Mm,
the CIPS, China International Pet Show, run by the Chinese government, the third big international contest. And last year I took 15th in the IAPLC, 34th in the IIAC, and 55th in CIPS. And this year I had the tremendous honor and privilege of receiving rank 2 in the IAPLC in its 20th anniversary year. So
yeah.
it's been a long ride since I was visiting local fish shops in Hawaii.
Mhm,
I mentioned on Facebook that Robert Lau's aquarium at Kahala Petland is what got me into the hobby.
mhm.
I saw his tank set up there when he was the manager. It was carpet of Riccia and Rotala, just everything bubbling, all the fish super healthy, and I was just blown out of my mind. I'd always loved living things and painting, and so when I saw that tag, I was like, I got to do this. I've had the bug ever since then.
I see. Yeah, Robert honestly is really great. He's I had the chance to visit his place, and I saw his tanks before this whole COVID thing, and I mean it's honestly breathtaking what he's able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Robert's really talented. And yeah, but again, I guess congratulations, right, for ranking number 2. And for those of you who are not familiar with this contest, it's big, right? You get like I think was it over 2,000 this year? I forget the exact
Yeah.
number, but it was over 2,000, right?
So this
Entries.
year, 2,385. I think that's right, 2,385. But actually, this is the first year that it's been over 2,000 in a while. I think like the
Crazy.
peak, the max year was in 2015 or 16, and it was 2,600 people. And then ever since then, it's kind of been going on a gradual decline. The other big contests are part of it. World politics and whatnot is also part of it. But this year, I guess because of the 20th anniversary, and because some of the 2 other major contests, IAC and CIPS, weren't able to hold, just whatever, both the cynical reasons and the good reasons, everyone came in and we had a fantastic contest, amazing, 2,000 with over 2,300 people, and God, I had never seen so many amazing scapes in the top 400 that had a legitimate case to be in the top 50. So
Yeah, for sure. Like the ADA. So what ADA did this year is they did a live stream, right, showcasing the top 117, right? And they yeah,
yeah,
and I would really recommend everyone to go watch that stream after this because it's incredible, and you can see the amazing work that everyone puts in, and it's like, damn, you like really wish you could put everyone in the top 50, top 25. I mean, it's incredible what everyone has done. And your tank, we can talk about that now. Your tank was amazing, right? It finished
thank you.
number 2 again. Like
Should
everyone's saying
I
congratulations on that.
should I screen
Huh?
share?
Yeah, go
Should I?
ahead. Let's
Okay,
we can
let's
show you that.
see. Okay, right here.
Oh, Lisa asked, how old were you when you saw Robert's tanks?
Uh, 17, I think. 17, 16, around there. Let's see.
It's
Okay, wait. Can you see it?
just print. Oh yeah, yeah. I gotta add it to stream. It should be perfect. Yeah, so just
There we
take us
go.
step by step, like how you created this. And I think a question that I and a lot of people had with this tank is how did you create the reflection? My theory is you left the tank bare bottom. I'm not too sure how you did that though, or like, I mean, I don't know. So you take us through your thought process, how you thought up of the hardscape, how envisioned this tank, and yeah, just blow us away.
Sure, sure. So, first of all, let me just say real quick plug. I'm also a YouTuber, and I have a channel called Steve Scapes. I'm going to be putting up a series. I really go in depth, do really deep analysis about how I put together my aquascapes, what my thought process is. And so, actually, the first of 3 videos went up today for people who want to go check it out. But I'll try to cover as much as I can here without really going over time, and also without completely blowing out my future videos. But going back to this aquascape, the title of this layout is Undying. And the reason why I picked that title is because I wanted to make the idea of a tree that has died, and even in death, it becomes kind of the new habitat where fish and plants congregate. See, when we come up with a layout idea for the IAPLC, what we really want to do is, think of a new face of nature, think of a new thing from nature that we can, show to people and try to express. My idea was that by tapping into the idea of a structure that's gone and then being reused, being retaken over by fish and other living creatures, I could, capture that feeling of 50 points in 50 of the extra points in the analysis which is more than any other category, is for being able to create a natural environment for fish. One way that I like to do it is I often take inspiration from ocean pictures. And I talked about this in my video too, but I actually was looking at pictures of the inside of sunken ships. And sunken ships are a really interesting topic to me because they're like these kind of weird, abnormal structures, but nature takes them over as coral and fish and so forth come around them and make them their environment. Like, let's see. Let's try look up a picture of sunken ships, just whatever Google will throw at us, right? And I will share that screen. Okay. So let's see. Sorry guys, I'm kind of navigating these tools and trying to figure out it all as we go along. But like, okay, wait. Stop sharing screen, share screen, choose a screen. Okay. And I will pick, yeah, this one. This one. So you can see like these kinds of scenes where you see, you know, just coral and fish and plants all coming together. But like scenes like this are really cool, right? Where you have fish underneath a piece, and then you're kind of getting into a fish's mindset when you go into a place like this, because you know it's not a place where you typically go as a person. I guess if you're a diver, right? But your average person is not going to be able to get this perspective of the world that often. But you know, putting yourself in that strange place and getting, you know, a different perspective on the world and nature, and also seeing nature like retake over different places. I also like looking at these pictures of like the inside of a boat. I got the idea of windows, and I was going to use the windows to show different parts of nature, different scenes from nature. One tip that, you know, two-time champion Josh Sim gave in one of his lectures was you want to show as many different things to the judges as possible, which to me is like really strange. To me, that was like kind of a weird advice, because for most, especially beginners and rookies, novices, which you have too much stuff. You don't want to get distracted. You want to focus in on the one thing, right? So if you have too much going on in the layout, then for sure it won't be evaluated very, very highly, because there's just, the judges won't be able to tell what it is that you're trying to do. But with a scene like this, I figured if I had like a scene inspired by those sunken boats and create windows inside of the aquascape or inside of this piece of wood, then I could show like different scenes of the same outside nature. Like you can see like this is a window, this is a window, and they're all connected by a similar theme, but they're all connected by a similar theme, but they're all connected by a similar theme, the outside world to this giant structure and being part of that swamp that I was imagining. But they're different facets of it, you know, thicker wood on reflection, or stone, pebbles, faraway plants. I really was keen on getting some of these hydrocotyls to pop their heads out among the bushes here, give it marshy kind of sense. Yeah. And by doing that, you know, I could, well, do what Josh recommended, show lots of different things to the judges, show that care and attention to detail to expand the story, but also, you know, avoid the risk of distraction, avoid the risk of making so many things and so many unconnected things that, you know, I would lose attention or lose understanding from my audience.
Totally. I mean, that's incredible. So, like, I really like that theme, and a lot. So basically, the thought process is really in depth when you first think of what you're trying to do, and I'm sure it's like every year, right? Like, I'm remembering your tank from the previous year, and that was your, I think, a mono kind of river theme, right?
I think I can pull it up real quick. Let me try. Let me try to see if I can find that. So,
because
And
I
it's so.
really like that one too.
Hmm. What did you like about it? Just to throw
Well,
that
I just
question at
like
you while I'm.
well, I think, and a lot of people liked it, especially me, and then one of my other buddies who actually I think used a 75-gallon to kind of use your scape to kind of model his 75-gallon after. But what I liked about it, I
Honored.
think everything like really like just smooth, and it was just everything, the hardscape, the I think I never seen it in a while, but I remember everything I think was kind of moving in one direction. And I don't know if you were going for that, but like it's
Can
just
you see
like,
it now?
yeah, I can see it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like you can see like the pathway and the rocks look really smooth, and um and I really like the build up, especially on that left side. And
Hmm.
I actually always want to ask you because I never knew like how did you create that build up? Like what rocks were you using? And the plant life too, especially in the front of in the foreground. Those are my questions when I actually first saw this tank. Like, and yeah, so yeah, basically just the hardscape number one. Like, how did you create that? Like, what rocks did you use?
Thank you. Okay, so this was my layout from last year. I entitled it Amano Ga, or Amano's River. This
Mhm.
was an aquascape that I really wanted to devote to the nature of Japan. I figured because I'm living here in Japan and have the opportunity to have Japanese teachers, I should make at least one scape like this in my life, you know? Like really
Yeah,
dedicated to my experience of Japan's nature. Um, Maybe not the Japan that you see in albums, but the Japan that you'll see if you were a fish in the river. Um, I chose to use only species that exist in Japan, except for the fish. I wanted to
yeah.
use a Japanese fish. I wanted to use a Japanese trout species, but unfortunately, all of them eat plants in some way, shape, or form. Because
Oh.
my teacher's like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. You're just asking for more trouble than you need. If you don't mind, afterwards, I'd like to show you one of my friend's tanks. He actually went the extra
Yeah, for
mile
sure.
this year, too.
Oh yeah.
But to get so this was my take using Beryllius trout, the hill stream trout from I believe this species Vicarious from Thailand, but there's also many species from
Mhm.
India. Um, but yeah, cold fast river trout with cold fast river plants. The foreground plants are hydrilla species, so like a
Oh,
close relative of Agarria densa, right? So
yeah.
no, yeah, I figured no one was gonna expect me to come with this type of pond plant, you know. And
Yeah. I was just always wondering, like, what made him choose that? But hey, it
and
really worked. Honestly, it looks great.
when you this is like a valuable thing for people who want to compete is whether
Mhm.
it's a fish or a plant or something. If you can show the judge something different, like just for one moment, you can make them think, "What is that?" And they have to look, they have to glimpse
Uh,
in, they have to step in. This is one of the keys to entering the top 27 of the contest because the moment that you can make a judge force himself, what is that? What's going on? He's already paying more attention to your aquascape. He's already putting it into the to be higher, more highly evaluated bucket.
mhm.
Um, in my opinion, anyway. But to get
Yeah.
to your question about the rocks, I'm using a type of rock. It doesn't actually have a name, but Japanese plate lava. And I actually got this rock from a certain part of Nagano Prefecture. It's very similar to
Uh,
the it's very similar to the ADA Sansui. So if you can get a hold of that, I know AFA carries it, but whether you
yeah.
can get
Coral
good
Fisher
quantity
had.
or nice, yeah. Actually, Tom Barr.
Yeah, yeah. I talked to him a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Does he?
comes
Does he?
to Hawaii
Have,
quite. No, no, no. But he
oh,
comes to
oh.
Hawaii quite often for vacation and stuff. And he often hikes in on the Big Island too. And he's like, Steven, why the heck should people from Hawaii have to worry about getting rock, especially lava rock? There's so much nice rock out here. I'm like,
Oh,
people don't want to be cursed, you know.
yeah. Yeah. You want your house on fire in a little bit.
So if you're on the Big Island, maybe you don't need to try and look for other people's lava rock. Just But otherwise, I don't know. Good luck. Anyway, so this is a type of plate lava, and I really like this rock. It's something that I used in every scape until all of my scapes, all of my major placing scapes up until this year have been using this rock. And it was really fate that I came across it. I always wanted to get a nice big collection of Japanese sansui, but to be honest, it's getting a good amount and a good quality. Japan is not a cheap market the way China or Hong Kong is, so it would have been very difficult. But my teacher Fukada-san, who's a two-time grand prize champion and one of the most senior members in the Tokyo Aquascaping Union, he taught me, whether it's inspiration or materials, what you always have to do is keep your antenna up, keep your mind focused, and look for the things that the world throws at you, because good materials choose their owner, not the other way around. And one day I was on a family vacation, and my wife was driving because she doesn't like me to drive in Japan. I have a license, but whatever. So I was sitting but fortuitously, I was sitting in the passenger seat, and I was looking out the window, and then I was like, "Stop! We have to stop the car now. We have to go back there." And she's like, "Why?" "There's a lot full of rocks, and they look really, really awesome." So yeah.
Stop on the middle of the road and just want to pick up your next hardscape for your next tank.
we went back and no, it was obviously a professional operation, no matter how you look at it. But there's just stacks of all of this type of black plate lava, and it was a gardening supply shop or a gardening wholesaler actually. But they're like, yeah, sure, if you want, buy whatever you want. And I'd say that the rock that you see in this aquarium is about, let's see. Well, first of all, this is a 120 centimeter tank, and this piece on the left bottom, can you see my arrow too, or only the window? Oh,
yeah,
you can
only
see the window. You can't see my cursor, yeah?
No, I can't. Just to answer someone's question, how big is the tank? You said 120, but how many gallons are we looking at here? And is this an 88 model?
Yeah.
This is an 88.
So 120 centimeters, that's 4 feet, or like 70 gallons, something like that. 70 gallons, I think. And so you look at that, this piece that I'm zooming in on right now. This is one piece of rock, right? So
it's not stacked up.
The things on top are different rocks, but this one here at the bottom, this is one rock.
Oh, I see.
With a few others glued on only for detail, but the base is only one big rock. So that's like half the size of the whole tank. That's like what, 2 feet in length? Probably more than 2 feet. That's that rock, and I bought it for $50.
Oh, that's
something like
steal.
That. Yeah. So all of these rocks were super cheap like that, and I just like bought a ton. I think probably what's in the tank right now is, I want to say, like 25% of my collection, and 25% of my collection, and I bought like $300 or $400 of it when I came into contact with it. But so I have enough to fill the entire tank with rock if I wanted to. But you really need that much if you're going to compete at this level. With whatever material that you're using.
Right. I mean, especially if you're trying to build upwards too, like you did here. And I think what I see a lot, especially with these, IAPLC tanks, is the front side, like the front of the tank, the two sides are always high, or it's always built up. Is that like something that judges like prefer? Like you
mean like over here
too? Yeah, like so each corner, like the front two sides of the tank, so like that side and on the right side as well, they're all like you see it's always built up to like the surface. Is that kind of how it is with like judges, and like is that what something they're looking for?
It's a kind of modern style for the diorama style specifically, and This comes from 2014 champion Gregor, and also Fukada-san's 2015 and 16 championship layouts. But since those years, the importance of big impact aquascapes has gotten more and more important, and has gotten, big impact has gotten more and more important to the top level aquascapes. And the thing is, most layouts, if you look at like Google and you just Google aquascape, the vast majority of scapes you will see, probably 90–95%, have almost nothing going on in these top two front corners. So it's very underutilized space in the hobby for the most part. But the thing is, like when you have a picture and you're trying to give the perception of depth, or you're trying to make a big impact, you're trying to make the audience feel like they're getting sucked into the aquascape, or the aquascape is coming at them, then you need to have effective usage of these top two front corners. Not only that, but for this aquascape specifically, what I really wanted to do is, work on the reflection on the top of the water. I really wanted to nail this upper part.
Yeah.
Because the whole purpose of this aquascape, the whole purpose of this aquascape, this composition, was to create this triangle at the top of the aquascape where I really wanted to show off the flow of plants, like cold stream plants being blown in a high current, and show that natural shizen no sugata, that natural appearance that plants have being blown by water. And I also wanted to do that on the surface reflection. So I wanted to have, you can see if you zoom in here, like the Potamogetengai, which is another classic plant I brought back to the hobby for this layout. It's like actually being blown sideways, right? That's because there are hidden pumps inside of this aquarium blowing the plants over. And I wanted to create the impression that they were dancing, but also show their dancing in the surface area. You can see some hair grass planted behind this rock, also reflected in the top surface on the left side. So in order to create that, like if you can imagine, it means that the substrate in the back of the tank has to be practically to the very top of the tank, right? Like there's maybe 2–3 inches between, and this is a 45 centimeter deep tank, so that's a 1.5 feet deep, and that's a 1.5 feet deep, and yet there's only 2–3 inches between the top of the. Let's see, I don't know why it's doing that, but there's only 2–3 inches between the top of the. There's only 2–3 inches between the substrate level and the surface of the water.
Yeah, so how do you create that depth? And I always see like people do it various ways, and I always wonder like what the pros do it. I mean, ADA, they have their, what is it called? They're like basically the kind of like the lava rock kind of thing. I forget what it's called, but that type of substrate that they have where it's kind of
power
like meant
sand.
for power sand. Yeah. And I know people do that, but it seems like impractical. Like what I do for creating that kind of depth, whether it's for like an Iwagumi tank, I always just stack it up with rocks underneath. And I know some people would put like a board underneath to protect the glass, but I just want to know, like, what do you do and what do others do when it comes to building up depth like that, especially in the back where you need substrate, like you said, just like 2 inches or 2 whatever, kind of 2 inches, 2 centimeters underneath the tank.
Well, first of all, for a planting area, I think 2–3 inches of depth is ideal. So that would be like ADA aqua soil, 2–3 inches, right? So what goes underneath that is the question. You could stack up rocks, that's fine. I think the issue with that is, one, sometimes rocks can be expensive, and two, like getting them to fit into the right place, or you also want to avoid having pockets of, like big pockets of air. Little pockets of air is actually good because it helps keep the substrate oxygenated, but if you have like big pockets of air where a lot of fish stuff, a lot of junk is going to collect, it can become anaerobic and a problem for your bacteria colonies. So what we do is either crushed lava if that's the only thing you got, but in Japan, garden pumice Like a pumice stone substrate that's used for draining is very common in the home centers here, and that's what we use to fill up the back of the tank. But really, like any kind of, you know, substrate about this thick, about this big in grain size, made out of rock that's inert or won't be bad for the. You could use aquarium gravel even, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to use like sand because that's, you know, completely going to. There's not going to be any air in there. There won't be any place for bacteria to grow really and do well.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want very fine substrate back there, but like anything that's about the size of aquarium gravel that isn't going to hurt the aquarium, just, you know, fill it up and then put aqua soil on top. Pumice is good because it's cheaper than aquarium gravel, and also because it has you know, lots of holes and pores for bacteria to grow inside of. It's actually what 88 power sand is made of before they add the ferts and other enrichments to it. Unfortunately, the only unfortunate part about pumice is some of the pieces will float, but I mean, you just net out those, and the parts that sink, you know, you use that.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So that makes, yeah, actually, I should give that a shot. That's something new I'm willing to try. Because you're right, rocks are expensive. I just usually go to my backyard and I just get some, you know, like some light stones that I have that just stack them up. I mean, that's what I do.
It's just filler anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to be seen. But I never actually did it like how you did with this tank, where like a big section, not, well, I guess kind of like a bigger section is like really close to the surface. So that's something I'm willing to try, and I don't have enough, you know, rocks in my yard to pull that off. So yeah, I'm gonna have to give that a shot. And actually, I have to answer another question here. I forgot to ask this when you were explaining your other aquascape from this year, but when do you start planning your next IAPLC scape? Like, when do you start the hardscape planning, like the thought process, the drawings? So when does that all begin?
So I've talked about this on my channel, on Green Aqua, the Hungry YouTube channel, and a few other places. But like, this is probably the big. Also, there might be some. If there's some Aquatic Gardening Association members, AGA members, like I wrote an article in the recent tag talking about this too, so check it out or get a copy of it if you can. But long story short, this is like a very key element for our style. When I say our, I mean like TAU, me and Fukada-san, and similar aquascapers. This is a key part of how we approach the contest differently from normal aquascapers or normal hobbyists or even normal people in the contest, is that how we allocate time is different. The biggest portion of time is allocated to this thought process part, because the depth of the thinking and the depth of the idea will be the key factor when it comes to the contest results. When you get into like the levels where people have the skills to enter the 127 at will, like you have, you know, veterans who are just always going to be in those top 127 or very rarely falling from it. Like with that level of ability, they can pretty much create whatever they want. They're not limited by inability to get access to materials or inability to you know, fit hardscape together into the shapes that they want. They're going to be able to create what they want. The question is, what is it that they imagine? What is it that they think about putting together? And that's where the big difference will come forth. So, like, I'm already working on my ideas for IAPLC 2021. I've been working on it ever since the end of May, when I submitted this earlier rank 2 grand prize. Gold. Ever since submitting this aquascape, I've already been thinking about next year. And even before then, there's some things that you can do on a daily basis if you just keep your antenna up, as I said. If you look for, you know, ideas or interesting things, like, oh, no, golden barbs. I've never thought too much about them. Like, what kind of fish is that? Where does it come from? Like, why does it look like a carp? You know, what qualities does it have? If you're curious, and if you find something that perks your interest and seems unusual, out of place in the aquascaping contest, then that's a hint, right? And if you hold on to that hint, eventually it might develop and grow out into something bigger. I think a really good example is my teacher's 2016 grand prize aquascape, Mighty Cave. He used ghost knife, sorry, glass catfish in that aquascape.
Oh, yeah.
And he was thinking about the glass catfish for over a year or a year and a half, and just suddenly he came across some rocks in China, and the idea of making a cave out of this rock that the glass catfish would swim to, it all came together. So sometimes against these really top layouters, what you're competing against is an idea that could have been crafted over the course of 2 or 3 years if that person has been continuing to pay attention and continuing to sharpen his ideas. For me, I'm not quite at that level. There's a few things that I hold on to like that I think, yeah, maybe it'll develop into something someday. But for the most part, this period of 7 to 8 months, 6 to 8 months between the end of the contest towards, say, December or January, it's like, all right, if I don't start building the hardscape, we're not going to make it, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to,
you have to allow things to grow in.
So if you're going to make it,
grow in.
Exactly. But I mean, to the growing stage, 2 months you can get away with. This is 2 months actually.
Okay.
Yeah, but in terms of like the condition of the plants, it's not as good as last year. And I also need to work on my plant husbandry to get it higher. 2 months is definitely exactly the amount that like Scott-san or Josh would want or need, but I'm not quite there yet. I need to give myself more time, so I'm going to give myself more time next year. But like, okay, 3 months tops then, right? Say last 3 months are the months to fill the tank and get it up to prime. That means that there's 9 months ahead of that. In order to make a high-intensity hardscape like this, you probably need 2 or 3 just to build the hardscape, right? So that's the other thing. A lot of people might arrange stone or wood for a day. I'll spend 2 to 3 months on it. For this layout, Amanogawa, it's much easier, much less intensive than the one that I made this year or the one I made in 2018, which is my world rank 5 aquascape. Those are, big impact diorama layouts. They require a ton of time just to fit things and glue things, and when things fall down, you have to re-glue them back in. But this is like, a walk in the park compared to that, and I'm just kind of like goofing around.
Kind of thing.
Right, but that also meant that I was able to finish the hardscape way sooner, and so I got more time to bring the plants to the level that I wanted them to be at. But that still means that there's like 6 months or more if you're working on one scape while thinking about the ideas for the next one. But you want like 6 to 8 months to think about that layout before you even start putting stuff in the tank. That's the way we approach it. Though everyone is different. Everyone is different. Like in 2018, some people might know Handa Hiranori, the 2018 Grand Prize champion, who was a direct disciple of Amano Takashi. Should we bring up his aquascape? I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. Let's try to do that.
Is this the one that you want to show to? This scape? I think you want to show here. We can.
If you got it, and you can share it.
Yeah,
I got it.
For it.
I got it. Let me see. So
I like to see it on my phone too. That's why I was searching it up.
Let's see.
It's much clearer for me.
Okay, wait, I gotta make it into, I have it as a separate tab, but I need to make it a separate window. Let me see.
Okay. Yeah, and just to ask you one question, and I think this is something you probably answer real quick. How do you hold the I guess like the substrate so there's an avalanche forward?
Wait 1 second, let me try.
Yeah, go ahead.
Browser has blah. Click the screen.
Yeah, and we're gonna so for the people watching the stream, we're gonna have a like a nice Q&A session afterwards. So again, you may not get to your questions right away, but towards the end of the stream, we're gonna definitely have time to answer people's questions. So submit questions that you want to ask Steven, that you see along the stream. If you see his aquascapes or people's scapes and you have questions, for sure comment, and towards the end we'll have that session.
Okay, I got it to work again. All right.
All right, here we go.
Can you see? Yeah. So this is the traditional style, right? But
yeah,
Honda Hironori, he's been in the top 7 several times, and then in 2018 he became grand prize. So his process is like in February he'll choose a weekend and say, okay, this is the weekend I'm gonna hardscape my layout, and then he won't think about it up until that point. But maybe he'll have picked out 1 or 2 pieces of wood or stone. It's like, oh, I really want to use this. And then that day he'll put it in, and he'll do basically what you see Amano-san do in ADA's videos, which is, kind of, that's all right. Yeah, that works. This is the other thing, and I probably want to grow these kinds of plants, and then it's finished, right? And then so the hardscape will be a day, and then he's going to put in his plants and grow everything and then bring it up to this point, and it'll always be a traditional style layout that is very much in the school of Amano Takashi. So that's an approach, and it's an approach that can reach very high level of the contest or outright win the contest. But I would say, just consider that going into that strategy, you are competing in the same lane as Mr. Honda-san here, who has aquascaped literally thousands of tanks by himself. Each one a collective part of his memory, a part of his, deep instinct for how to lay down hardscape, how to grow plants, and those years of skills of plant husbandry, right? Not to mention directly watching Amano-san himself create this type of layout. And you're going to be competing against other Japanese veterans who have similar skills or just like have been doing this for a decade or more. So those guys are not going to be coming in with a whole lot of depth of thought in their work, but then you're also competing against a much greater depth of instinct on their part if you're going to be in the same lane of nature aquarium. If you're going to do that, you have to be like a real genius, in my opinion. Like my buddy, Hip Honda. My buddy Hipsta. People probably know him. He's
USA, right?
Right. He's also in the TAC, but he ranked 4 in 2018, so the same year that I was ranked 5 in 2019. That was the first year that Americans were in the top 7, by the way, and there were 2 of us.
Oh wow! So congrats.
Yeah, that was a big deal. But he has like ridiculous innate instincts, and unless you're just luckily born with that type of genius, know that like if you're going in with like the traditional route, depending on your own instincts, that's what the type of monster you're going to be fighting against and competing against directly in the contest.
Yeah, just look at it. It's crazy. I mean, he's using a bunch of, I really am interested in the plant choice number one when it comes to these tanks, especially when you're trying to create like a complete kill of plants like that. And I have a question. I know you used, I think you used it in your last tank, but what is your opinion on ferns and specifically which species of ferns do you prefer? And that's kind of a personal question because that's something I'm planning on because I'm planning on entering a tank next year. And it's like an 88. So I've always done smaller aquascapes. Like my biggest tank so far was a 60p. So you know it's nothing huge, but I was able to get my hands on a a 75p, and I'm thinking of using some ferns. And I just want to hear what you have to think. Yeah, what to say about like which species do you prefer and which ones do you use?
Okay. I mean, pretty much the only true fern that I use a lot is Java Java fern trident, just
Oh, that's
because
perfect.
right of the size and the leaf thickness and the um, ease of use. Bovitis and Java fern are pretty much the main two, as you would expect. But I don't know. I've never had good relationships with Bovitis. It somehow doesn't work for me all that great. I can't, and I should get it to. I should learn to get it to work better for me. But also the size of the plant. So with Bovitis, you really do have to keep it on a long-term basis. I've only recently gotten a separate grow out tank, but you've got to like trim the leaves that it comes with, and grow new smaller leaves, and time those correctly with the overall condition of the aquarium. It's a little bit more like, I mean, ideally you want to have your ferns growing naturally, but you can do more plug and play with Java, I feel, than with Bovitis. And the other thing is we have Pinatophyta right now. Hygrophila pinatophyta before didn't exist, but now it does, and that plant is super versatile and can be used for a lot of what ferns traditionally do.
Yeah, and it's a great. And I see you used it in your last aquascape, and I see you used a lot. It's kind of just like a nice filler on wood. It's just like
It
and I see you guys
is.
keep it really small too. So you guys trim it, I'm assuming, right? But like I know it can get a little bigger, but I see just like small little pieces of it, scattered around the hardscapes a lot. And yeah, we can see right here. You can show and you have trident in here too, actually too. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So
That's what I have.
Pinatophyta.
I have a bunch of trident on hand, so that's perfect for me. But yeah, go ahead with the Pinatophyta.
Yeah,
Right there.
Pinatophyta is like a poor man's Bucephalandra. It's like, and it's super versatile. Just depending on how long you keep it, where you plant it, how you it's impossible to kill. It's super easy. You can grow it like a stem plant. You can grow it like Bucephalandra if you trim it really small. You can grow it bigger to make it look more like a Java fern. It's just super versatile. My favorite stem plant for sure, though. It's hard to even call it one of those.
Yeah, I mean, it is a fern, but it really grows like a stem in ways.
The other thing I really like is small species of Anubias that have very sharp leaves. Like,
Okay.
like the names are escaping me. Sorry, what?
I grow out a bunch of these types of Anubias too. I can't really tell because sometimes they look like, I think that's Pongolino if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so I have Pangolino, and this is a little bit bigger than that, I think. So this is one that I got in Aquaflora when I was in the Netherlands, and Esther told me a bunch of different names, but I've forgotten most of them. But I actually have the Aquaflora Pangolino, and I have the tropical one. The tropical one is way smaller, but they're both really cool. When you have a series of plants like these, what you really want to do is actually collect a bunch of them. And then what you can do is you can keep the smaller ones closer up front or near the bottom of the aquascape. I think this is the tropical one here. So you can see it's a lot smaller in terms of leaf size. And then, decide where to place them. And that's another thing you can use to, make things seem farther or closer. Like here you can see there's a lot of Monte Carlo planted in the foreground of the aquascape. And there's actually some of that bigger pointy shaped Nubius in the foreground as well. But even if in the foreground and midground I'm going to use Monte Carlo, in the background it'll definitely be HC. Like this is HC, and then some of those, like, it's so far away that you can hardly tell what it is, but like those light green patches have HC mixed in. So mixed in with the Brazil sword. So you can play with the leaf size in order to make things seem even farther than they actually are.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's something I never thought about. That's really cool. Yeah. And so actually another thing is too, what is your stem plants in the back? Oh, I know you kind of, is that just moss growing on the sticks, or is there, you actually have some other stem plants in the back
Oh,
mixed in with them?
there's moss growing on the sticks, and there's also Myriophyllum, what's it called? Madagrossense, and also Uganda. In the very far background, that's another play on, right? So up here in the closer, quote unquote, closer areas, it's Madagrossense, but in the, in the viewpoint here, it's only Myriophyllum Uganda. Guyana, I think. Sorry, not Uganda, Guyana. The very, very small, micro Myriophyllum.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And another question I have too, and I know a lot of other people have this question for scapes like these. And I know you're in Japan and you're access to a lot of different brands, especially ADA. Do you use their plants? Like, do you use tissue culture plants a lot?
I do. Because like sometimes the quality of other plants is not always that great. Tissue culture is very consistent, and the plants tend to grow in very quickly. They tend to be quite healthy. They actually have a lot of stored up energy. Well, no, I don't. Okay, wait, don't quote me on that. I don't know if that's true. But for tissue plants tend to be very consistent in their performance. They get adapted pretty quickly, and no matter which store I go to, the quality is pretty reliable. So
yeah, it's pretty consistent.
For some things like Java fern or Bucephalandra or like Vallisneria nana is not one that I can really get as a tissue culture plant, unfortunately.
Yeah. There's certain ones for me where I can't just grow them out. Like they just will die on me. I prefer like the more of the, I like carpet plants with tissue cultures too. That's what I normally do when I scape a tank.
Like last year, because I was using Potamogetingai and also the hydrillas, a lot of truly aquatic plants, plants that cannot be grown outside of water. Last year I wasn't using as much tissue culture because of the true aquatic nature a lot of the plants I was using. But when you have a scape like this that has more typical main brand plants that can be grown hydroponically or as tissue culture, I would definitely trust the quality of those types of products a lot more than some other, unless it's like an LFS that you trust and know and have worked with before. But of course, if you go into a shop and they're growing plants very well in their own aquariums and they look very nice in the display, well then just go pick them up.
Yeah. I'm just thinking like now. I'm just this stream is really giving me inspiration to what I'm gonna do next year or for this tank next year. So kind of going through that thought process as we go along. But another question that I have, and this is something for equipment wise. What brand do you use for aquariums? Like, do you guys have a preference? And also, what do you guys do for filtration? And I mean, you guys do CO2 obviously, but and lighting as well. What do you guys, and substrate too, I guess. So basically, what do you guys do for those basic things for an aquascape?
I mean, my tip would be to work with work with folks in your same market who have a good understanding of, and they show good experience and good knowledge of what works and what is affordable. The thing is that probably the answers that I give here are going to be a bit difficult for others to replicate. Because in the Japanese market, ADA is the king, and ADA is not really a super. It's not. I mean, it is a more expensive brand, but it's not like a Ferrari or something like that. It's just ADA products tend to be just a tiny bit above their competition, just an extra 10 or 15%, and you're like, well, if I have to pay an extra 1,000 yen, but I'm going to get ADA trustworthiness and quality. And for a lot of their products, that is a big difference, whether it's the clarity of the tank, the quality of the silicone, whether it's like how good the tools feel in your hand, or how trustworthy the soil is. Then I'm going to buy ADA because I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to think about it, and it really isn't that expensive. Like this aquarium, last year, I sized up from 120 to 45, 45. So I had the traditional ADA size of 120 centimeters long, 45 deep, 45 tall. That's what I used in this aquascape. But competing against Josh and Shaq and Scott-san, I was just starting to feel a real limitation to 45 centimeters deep. It's just not enough space. It's not enough work when I'm competing against 55 or 60 centimeters in depth and height. So I upgraded to 120, 50, 120, 50, 50 last year. Also an ADA tank, their new standardized size. And the 5 centimeters is a huge difference. But the price is not that bad. Like the original tank that I bought was like $500. This one was $750. So an extra $750 or an extra $250 to get that extra 5 centimeters in depth and height. But it's just like it wasn't good. It's such a huge difference when you're aquascaping and when you're used to that size. And the quality is excellent. The aquarium itself is beautiful. And I mean, like if I was going to get a customized aquarium, I looked into that too. But a custom tank that wasn't ADA or any other tank that wasn't ADA was going to either look junk or cost me $2,000 to $3,000 and take me a month to wait for them to build. So I'm like, no, I'm just gonna buy the standardized ADA size, and and I definitely don't regret that decision.
No, yeah, I mean, you really, I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, there's other options. Like a lot of people here in the USA, and I don't think Japan has this, right? You guys don't have UNS tanks.
No, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of people in the States. You know, they will use UNS over ADA. For me, I like ADA better. I like ADA products a lot. You know, because I go to Japan, and I don't think I'll be going a while because of Corona. But whenever I go up, I always will get ADA stuff there because, and number one for me, it's so much. It's not, well, I mean, it's cheaper. I don't want to say so much, but it's cheaper, and that's what I love about it. And even if it's just simple stuff like tools and like filtration, I'll get it up there because it just makes it so much easier to buy in bulk up there rather than just getting here and either going to a store or shipping it from AFA. And that's what I really like. And even just hearing the prices that you paid, it's like, oh, lucky. It's just like it's so much better there too. And yeah, I mean, I just like ADA. That's why I'm going with this tank, an ADA tank. I got the 75P, and that's why I'm going to go with the. I have the RGB2.
Nice.
Solar. Yeah. So that's a. Do you use that light? Is that something you use and you use for this tank?
I have a solar one. I have a set of solar ones, and I actually did use them for this aquascape for the most part. I was rushed on time for this tank. Okay, first of all, I have to plug the lights that I really like, which is the Maxi Light Master Pro from Hong Kong, Andy Tam. And I will put out the caveat that I've received that as part of a sponsorship, and Andy and I are good friends. So factor that bit in when taking this advice. But I've used solar ones and I've used the maxi lights, and I really like the maxi lights. Like the color for one, the color. Um, let me pull up another aquarium photo, but let's see here. But the penetration of the lights is really nice, and also I'm just using one of the two lights that I got from Andy on my grow out tank right now, and the plants are doing fantastic, even in 125, even in 120, 45, 45 with just the one light. I'm growing out all the stuff that I want, and they're looking really great. So I really wish I could have put them over the my main contest tank, but that wasn't that funny thing. That actually just wasn't possible because I needed to, because of the arms that I have available to me. I have arms for the solar one that only work for the solar one, and I wouldn't be able to put them onto my grow out tank, and so I had to use the arm that Andy gave me to put out one of the max lights on the grow out tank, and I actually used a separate, different custom arm that I built myself to put the extra maxi light and the two solar ones on my tank for 6 of the 8 weeks, because I was just blasting. I was like, oh, I got 2 weeks. I need to get this thing in gear. I need to get the plants going. So I was like maxing out light and CO2 and doing tons of water changes and maintenance to fight back all the algae that I got as a result.
Yeah, I'm just imagining me trying to do that, and oh god, all the algae problems I'm gonna get. Oh, so this is basically what you did with your last year, the last year's tank, huh? You just added some drift.
Right. So this is what I wanted to show is this is the same tank, rank 15 with the solar ones on top. Well, no, sorry. This photo was taken with strobe units. So up until this year, Ono Masashi, who's like another one of my teachers, a major veteran of the contest, he was also my photographer up until this year. Because of COVID 19, that wasn't possible. So wait, are you? I think you are seeing the amount. Right. Okay. So
yeah.
So actually, this year with this tank, this is the first time that I took my own photo, because there's just no other way. I bought some equipment. I thought about the process that I had gotten used to doing with Ono-san, and I took my own photo. But this year, this is with Ono-san and his strobes over it. And strobes are just a white light. It doesn't have any RGBT. Sorry, it doesn't have any color adjustment, RGB adjustment the way that ADA's RGBs do or the maxi lights do. This is the same aquarium photographed by me without strobes, because I didn't have time to bring Ono-san in to take the photo for the Taiwanese contest. So I did this one myself with the lights above the aquarium. And you can see a huge difference in what the colors look like, right?
Yeah, for sure. And
it's like the richness. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. And everything I see, everything's just grown in more. I think it's probably. I mean, I'm just assuming that's just because you had him up and running more. But yeah, I can definitely see. And did you plan? Is that some alternate area? Did you have that prior when you?
Oh, this is Ludwigia Super Red, and I didn't have that in the.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't see it that well.
No, I changed.
Okay, so you added that in after.
I added that in after because for this scape, it was just the rocks that I was working with. But when I added wood and I was using the maxi light, you can see the wood itself looks so pink. The pinks and oranges and reds in the wood come out way more. And so the Potamogeton's orange that looks so cool in this picture just doesn't stand out by comparison once you put wood in. And so I needed a plat that was even more red. So I put in the Ludwigia Super Reds tactically. I like to think tactically to try and draw the eye from right to left along with the wood.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it did help, kind of balance it out. And what kind of wood is that? Is that just But yeah, what kind of wood? I want to take
That
guesses
I
here.
can't answer. That I guess I would call it the TAU secret weapon wood, but the truth is I don't know what it is.
Oh,
It it was but Scott-san used it a lot in his old layouts. The two he took grand prize with. I bought a bunch of it for a very hefty price from an aquarium, which is the shop Shito Noriyuki, the shop owner at an aquarium, was the guy who decided in 2010ish, I think, 2008, 2009ish, that enough was enough. Japan needed to become stronger, so I'm gonna assemble a group of elite aquascapers to take back the top ranks of the IAPLC. And that was the birth of the Tokyo Aquascaping Union, the club that I'm a member of right now.
yeah.
But I bought this wood from him. I don't know what it's called. I just know that it's like that cool flowy wood that Shito-san has in his shop.
I mean, hey, it
And
works well actually.
yeah, that's the only information he'll give me about it too.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of you guys just collect stuff from the wild too. I mean, or not from the wild, but just like stuff you can actually find in Japan. And I think that's something I was willing to try with here in Hawaii. Just go outside. If I see a wood piece, because
Mm.
I'm gonna be real. Here in Hawaii, I'm sure other places.
Mm. Mm.
Substrate. Okay. Well, first off, substrate. Then you gotta get to the hardscape. Then the other things that are piling up after. But that stuff is expensive, and
Yeah,
I'm really
for
gonna try
sure.
and do what you did is just like find deals, not strictly go to like aquarium places and aquascaping places for the hardscape. Because, ooh
To
man,
be perfectly honest, I mean, American aquascapers complain to me all the time about hardscape, and it is a real issue. If I were one of them, the strategy I would do is basically beg Tom Barr. No, but like Manzanita is really the only high quality, um, high volume possible material that I see in the U.S. market. And I'll tell you that this aquascape, the one that just took grant second in the world, IAPLC, this is 65% Barzanita. I brought a few other pieces of wood back with me from China after I got to compete there last year. Had the one of the hosts take me out to the fish market and just bought a whole suitcase full of wood to bring back. But I ended up using mostly Tom Barr's wood. And so if I was an American, that's what I would do. I would just bulk up on Manzanita and I would focus on wood aquascapes because I would take the Malaysian approach. It's essentially what it is. Like if you look at the Malaysian aquascapes, and Josh sometimes has some nice pieces of Seiru, but for the most part, they don't have really nice rocks.
yeah.
They've got great wood, and they're really great at working with wood. Same thing with the Indonesian guys. It was like no, they have some rock stuff, I guess, but it's mostly wood. And so if I and being a member of being a member of TAG, the being a member of TAC, the Aquascapers Collective, which is kind of the North American competitive group. If you're for people who are interested in this hobby and want to talk to like Americans and Canadians who are interested in competing, definitely think about joining the TAC Lodge on Facebook. But I guess as a member, I should put this strategy forward. If Americans should take the Malaysian approach, just buy a bunch of Barzanita and create a new American wood style to compete on the world stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually that was something I was thinking about too, and buying some pieces just to try to play around. Even with my 60p, I was thinking about Manzanita, and some people were asking me, can you show which is the Manzanita? Because some people don't know what that one looks like.
Oh, in this aquascape?
Yeah.
It's all kind of. Again, you guys can't see my pointer either.
Actually no actually that's mine.
Wait.
Oh, actually we can see your pointer. I'm sorry. Now we can see it.
You can?
It's the bigger one. Yeah. Perfect.
Wait. Also, let me try to do this. Can you see it?
No, not now. We saw
Okay.
Big. Like
Okay, never mind. I have an application that. Oh wait, maybe if I just like take this pen tool and I make my.
You're using Photoshop, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe if I take the and I let's see right here. Do you see this stamp?
Yeah. I cannot. I don't know if anyone in the chat can see it.
Okay, well, let me just try to zoom in on it. Then, like, this is manzanita, and this is made out of. This part is made out of manzanita. This part is made of manzanita. So most of the structure is kind of manzanita pieced together as a frame, and I've just stuck bits of other wood, whatever would fit in and around it, in order to, like, I think most of this upper structure here, what you're seeing on this face is manzanita. This piece, this is actually like 6 pieces put together, but it's manzanita. And here's a funny thing: you like see the rotting. Do you see kind of like this rotting tree surface here? This is a really important part of the aquascape, by the way. This is like what we call the focal point, something we want to lock the eye in on with. And what I want to do is kind of like, is your phone okay?
Yeah, sorry. It's my
No
laptop.
problem.
Every time I get a call, it will
Okay.
go on and turn out. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So this part of the aquascape here, this is like the focal point. It's something that I want to catch the eye with and lock in before dragging their eye to the viewpoint, which is the hole back here, where I want to be the final part of the aquascaping experience. So, but with the focal point, I've kind of made a face, and I've purposefully put in like actual pieces of like the inside of a rotting trunk, because I'm supposed to tell this. I'm trying to tell the story of the inside of a log, so I've used actual pieces from inside of a dying tree, and this is from sakura. So this is sakura wood here. In fact,
Okay.
all of the standing trees, the thin pieces of wood that are imitating trees in the background, all of that are twigs of cherry tree as well. That my kids and some of their friends, I had them collect in a park and gather for me.
I really like that though. I just that was one of the features that I really liked. Just the just the sticks. It just looks like, and a lot of people were telling me to, to compliment you about that. And I see. Oh, and I think, another thing too is that we can finally get to is, how did you create the reflection? If you want to give that away,
Oh
you
no. I mean, we've totally sidestepped that question that whole time.
know,
But yeah, like they as I mentioned online, they're made out of mirrors and different pieces of mirrors that I've cut to shape and fit in. And that's all I'll say here. That's most of the answer, to be totally honest. I showed a picture online of the hardscape without the mirrors in. If you're like, then how is there a reflection if there's sand in the aquascape? Well, the mirror goes on top of the sand, you know. So, but I'm going to make a more in-depth video, because I think even if I say that there are mirrors on top of sand, it's not a whole lot of information. The video that I uploaded today is really about why I used mirrors, and I definitely recommend people going in, because the mirrors play a very key role in this aquascape. I think people know that because it's the first thing that so many people see and comment on when they look at the aquascape. One, because it's novel, but also because I've made this layout purposefully to highlight that feature of the aquascape and really bring that to life. So I talk more about that in depth in the video that I released today. The next video, I'm going to talk about how I did that by going more in depth about how I put this wood structure together and composed the aquascape overall. And I will put up a third video where I go into the specific techniques of putting this mirror together. The quick version is, there are pieces of mirror that I cut to the right shape and fit in there. I can talk more about like how it's fit, what I was thinking about when I fit them together, like why was it necessary to put them together this way, and what were the main trials and tribulations that I had in doing so, because it was a major pain in the butt to figure this out. But I'm so glad I did, because I mean, this is one of the things I picked up in the last few years is that if you're going to do a crazy weird gimmick, which I do try to do every year, like last year it was plants being blown by hidden pumps inside the aquarium. But if you're going to do a crazy gimmick, it should be in service of expressing something from nature that people haven't seen in the aquascape yet. So it's not enough to do a crazy weird effect with the mirror. For me, it has to be in service of speaking to an aspect of nature that, you know, will touch people's hearts and memories. Like the surface of trees on still water. It's something very dramatic. It touches my soul, you know, the dignity of a standing tree and its reflection. So that's what I was thinking about, and that's what I really wanted to speak to in putting these mirrors together.
Yeah, I think that's a great explanation of it. I mean, so far, and then we'll definitely check out the videos. And I think Lisa put your channel down below and your current video. So everyone go subscribe to Steven so you can catch up on the series. And yeah, I'm gonna check out part 1. I was meaning to watch it today. I've been pretty busy today.
No worries.
Yeah, no, but I have to. I'm gonna check that one out. And you basically do these. I remember watching other ones. You just basically do in-depth videos on all your, you know, professional scapes and stuff like that, right? That's what your channel is basically about.
Yeah, originally I wanted the channel to be more about me critiquing like the works, giving advice to aquascapers of the intermediate and beginner level who wanted it. But first of all, it turns out a lot of people were too shy, or the channel was too small for me to get a lot of input like that. And second, it turned out that I was way too busy to do videos very frequently. So it ended up being kind of like whenever I had time, do a video explaining about what I was thinking about this or that work. Unfortunately, because I got to do some different events, like the one in China or the one in Hungary or the one in the Netherlands, that I had, you know, aquascapes around that I was able to talk to besides just the competition layouts. Actually, a few that are still waiting for me to do videos about, but I'm just like apologizing to my subscribers. Like, you know, I'm doing these videos about my main tag now, and please forgive me for being completely AFK ever since, being completely out of action ever since coming back from Europe, because that was crunch time, man. That was crunch time for the contest, and then life kind of got swept up by this whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely in a point of relief now. Like, you have no idea how much emotional pressure is relieved once those results from ADA come out. It's like an entire year's worth of work. Oh, it paid off.
I know. I was
you
know, watching it live too, and then I was like, okay, well, where's Steven? Oh, okay, he's in the top 20, top 10. Oh, wow, he's in the top 10. Okay, top 5, top 3. And then I was like, wait, please tell me I didn't miss him, and then came out. And
you got to remember the alternative option, which is that you didn't make the top 127 at all.
Yeah, I know. You've been doing so well, so I was like, there's no way. He has to be, you know, he's here. I was like, did he actually not make it? But no, but hey, honestly, it was kind of, you know, really cool to see, you know, someone from Hawaii. I think a lot of people here in Hawaii, really, it was cool to see, you know, someone from, you know, the state do really well on the worldwide stage. So again, congratulations. I mean, this is amazing.
Thank you. I mean, just for this contest this year, I want to say, like, there are a ton of guys who are super talented who didn't make 127. Like, like Matthew from the Philippines, or Yimyo from Thailand, or my friend Tuan from Vietnam. There are a lot of guys who make top 27 quality layouts, and their work is pretty brilliant. If you go look it up after this, it'll have to be on Facebook because it's not published by ADA yet. But there's some ridiculously good aquascapes in the top 500 this year. So I don't think it was guaranteed at all that I was going to be in top 127. That said, at the point when Josh Sim came out at rank 3, I was thinking, okay, I'm probably going to be in the rank 2, I'm probably going to be in the top 2, given the, you know, the flow of the layouts up until now. And still, I was stoked and relieved to see myself at rank 2. And then see my buddy Shaq at rank 1. I couldn't have asked to lose to anyone else if I was going to lose at all. Last year, Shaq and I met up in Shanghai. Shaq is from Malaysia and really close to Josh Sim. And, I'm the student of Taki Fukada. So, and we're kind of younger. I believe he's 36 and I'm, 33. And we were like, okay, next year, we're going to win. We're going to beat Fukada and Josh, and we'll be the world's top 2. And Shaq's like, yeah, but if we fail, we won't tell anybody about this. Yeah.
Hey, but it worked out.
Yeah, it did work out this time.
I mean, that's awesome, man. Like, this is honestly a goal for me, just to at least get in that 127 eventually. Start young and then hopefully dream big. I think number one, I just gotta figure out this hardscape thing, man. There's so much more in depth, thinking and background to it than before I thought. So it's really interesting to see that.
Like I said, online mentors are the most important thing. If you've already learned how to grow plants, that's already a huge step. But I'll recommend to you, and I'll recommend to everyone who has a similar idea and value, join the Aquascapers Collective Lodge on Facebook. We're still really developing. So I actually belong to 2 groups, the Tokyo Aquascaping Union in Japan and also the Aquascapers Collective in North America. But I think like the cream of the crop, the most passionate aquascapers you'll find in NA are going to be in that group and will be the ones who can, give advice beyond whenever, I find time to give advice, as a more engaging support group.
I see. Yeah, I'll join that, and I'm sure a lot of people here would love to join that group on Facebook and get more advice. Now, actually, this is something I've always, this is a place I always wanted to go to, and I know you did. Was it? I know you. I don't know if you been there more than once, but I remember you did something there. It was like was it a escape off or something like that? You did something there in Green Aqua. Down is it Hungary, right? Yeah. How I just want to ask you, like, they make it seem really great. How is it in person? Is it like it's for
unreal. Me, it's like, let me say, even when you start living in Japan, you get used to a certain quality of LFS, because especially if they're ADA vendors, because they've all been trained in Niigata,
Right.
But there are very few shops in Japan that maintain the same level of husbandry, maintain the same level of quality, like the health of the plants and the fish, etc. You walk into Green Aqua and you can tell that they really care. So it's impressive. It's definitely impressive.
It's like I just see the wall of like the tissue cultures, and it's just so organized. It's like the products and then the grow out tanks. It's insane, and their YouTube channel is insane too. And honestly, it's great that you're able to go, and I really want to be there someday. That's awesome. And yeah, even the stores in Japan too, because I don't know which ones you go to. I know you were mentioning. I think you go to Honda store. You go to his store, right? And then there.
I actually don't go to his place that often.
Really?
Yeah, but I actually don't go anywhere now that often. But I would say like Shito-san's is a place. Shito-san's an aquarium is a place that stands out just because Shito-san is a major consultant. He's a voice of wisdom in the hobby. All roads to ridiculous geekery, whether it's in small cichlids or other tropical fish or in aquascaping, lead to Shito-san some way or another. But a shop that I went to a lot before Paopao Ginza was partially because it was on my way home, and partially because there's a lot of different. They have a good selection of fish and plants and products. Then I can't remember the name of the store, but the shop in Izakaya. The shop in Ishigaya is the best for fish. Like the fish from my escape this year and last year, the ones that I got in Tokyo were from that store, and they just carry so many cool rare fish.
Really?
And, this one also has a bizarre name that no matter how many times I write it down or how many times I talk about this fish, because it is a beautiful fish.
I mean, I gotta visit that one because I mean, you know, because I go to Pao Pao, you know, Ginza when I'm there, and the fish like there is nuts. Yeah, I mean, it's compared to like because I'm sure you're used to it already, but I mean, you know, here in Hawaii and just going to the stores there and seeing all the selection. I mean, all the illegal stuff they have there too is interesting. But no,
yeah.
ridiculous. And that's another thing too. Like I see they have the saltwater. Not that many stores I've been to in Japan. I think it was like the only one I've been. No, okay, there was one in Hokkaido. I went and they had they had saltwater, but they had saltwater. So the selection was pretty cool. But I gotta check out this one. And where did you say it was again?
Oh, the fish is Inlet Cypress Auropurpurea. And I chose this fish because it's like it has that streamlined thin body I wanted, but its vertical stripes are kind of rhyme with the up and down trees that I also had. That was my thought process there. But the shop in Ishigaya is called, and you know, brah, I gotta say, I mean, when I went Punahou, there was no Aquascapes 808, you know?
Really?
Jojo was one fish store guy in Petland Kalihi, and so there was, you know, like one pretty tank that Jojo was keeping, and that was it, brah. So, and then maybe, you know, I got good friends with him, and he would tell me when new plants came in and if they were nice and stuff. But yeah, there was no Aquascapes 808, so you guys are spoiled now. I mean, the idea of an ADA store existing anywhere in the U.S., never mind in Honolulu.
It's crazy. I mean, you know, yeah, it's like, and he, you know, I'll give him this, man. He uses like, you know, expensive stuff for all of his tanks. I think all this are UNS something, and I mean, Twin Star, like, not Twin Star, like.
He's passionate about it. He really cares about the art, you know. So.
Yeah, and he uses what's the people are gonna bully me for this after. It's the Titan, the UNS light for his display. That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have, you know, someone, you know, a nice ADA store here in Hawaii.
But while I'm here, because I didn't, so I actually don't have experience with the Titan. What I've seen, it looks pretty cool. Also because, you know, I didn't talk about the ADA lights. I feel bad. I don't own the new RGB, but, you know, I see them everywhere and they're super beautiful. So I definitely would recommend them too. The solar ones that I have, I've always, you know, loved them as well. And ADA, please know that I continue to be a huge fanboy, even though I use other stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, I never, because these are the maxi lights, right? That's what you know, what you like. They don't like, they're not as accessible for me here, and so that's something I was told about back. I remember.
For one, they're only really rolling out the. They're still doing a lot of R&D, but pretty soon, a lot of these product lines are going to become more online. I think they're really only available in parts of Asia and Europe right now, anyway.
Okay, yeah.
And, you know, kind of, and not even then like broadly, but when they become more available, I definitely try checking them out. So the store in Ichigaya is called the Ichigaya Fish Center. Ichigaya Fish Center. And it's cool because you can they actually have a koi fishing facility and experience that you can do there too. It's pretty cool.
Oh, I see it. Oh man, I'm looking at the images.
But yeah, like the plants there are nothing. ADA product line, it's pretty similar to what you'd expect, but man, they just like have so many cool fish in there all the time. So like I was actually, usually I think of what fish I want and then I go hunting for it. Actually, I make one of my friends go hunting for it. My buddy Yoshida, he's like, he knows every shop and every manager. He's been to like 80% of the stores in Japan. But he is like he's a collector. He's got like that. He's like this is the series of stamps that ADA created as an extra present in IAPLC 2002 or something.
Oh. So this is because I put a bunch of that random ADA stuff that like whatever. I'm like, oh, can I get a few extra of those ADA bags? Can I get the fish bag? I collect a bunch of stuff, but yeah. Also, because
these are the ADA tweezers size G from the year that were discontinued in the year 2007. Yeah, they're as long as your arm. But we're like, did you know ADA used to make terrariums? This is the product line that was discontinued in 2004. So for people who want to see stuff like that, check out Ryo Yoshida on Facebook or his Instagram account.
Yeah,
oh my god,
I like actually. Oh man, yeah. I mean, speaking of the terrariums, they're coming out with that Paula, now.
Yeah.
But you can't submit, no paludariums for the IAPLC, yeah?
No, not for the IAPLC.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we should start getting
we should jump to the,
Yeah, okay, so,
we should jump to the chat questions or the questions you brought from Has folks.
Yeah, so I actually have the Has questions here, and then we can get to the chat questions. I was, scrolling past the I swear I've seen it. I don't know if there's like one of the lines go, like the trains go past it, but I swear I've seen something like that before, the fishing area.
Yeah. No, like if you've been on the Chuo-sen, you've probably seen the Ichigaya Fish Center before.
Okay, that sucks. I was literally. Oh well, when I go back.
I drove by that place or rode trains by that place forever until that same friend, my friend Yoshida, was like, "Go in there." And like this year, because I couldn't really hunt down a specific species, I like came back from Hungary. I was like, "Okay, I have no idea what's gonna happen with global supply chains in the next month. I'm just gonna go down to the Ichigaya Fish Center and buy like 3 or 4 different species." And then, so this was one of those 3 or 4 species I bought. I was like, okay, these guys are the ones. Is COVID lockdown, man. There's impossible. But that store in Ichigaya basically saved me. I had, I wasn't able to pick up, this is the one. This is the destiny fish this year. But I was like, okay, I'm going to have at least a few cool stuff. Yeah. All right, sorry, let's get back to the figuring out the questions.
Okay, so question 1. I guess you kind of answered this already. I mean, you can just go over it briefly again. What was your main focus goal for this year's Aquascape?
My main goal was to become the grand prize champion. That didn't happen. So, but
second in that.
yeah. And I mean, top 7 and top 3, there is a barrier between those two. So I'm glad I was able to break barrier into the top 3 this year. What I was trying to express with this Aquascape, at first, I was really making this Aquascape to tell the story of the inside of the tree and the living creatures that would assemble around it. Partway through, the story became more about the reflections and talking about the more expansive world outside, with windows as kind of those framing points. For people who check out the video, you'll be able to see how my thought process went along. But basically, I had 2 stories here that ended up coming together. And I'm really glad that I was able to piece them together because they really need each other. Similar to something that happened in 2018. So if people want to see the videos about that aquarium too, please check them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the one I watched, and really informative. I really enjoyed those. Okay, next question, and that will be, so what is your secret to making, you already kind of went over reflections, but what is your secret to making the shadows? And that's kind of a thing I have, I want to figure out too. Especially in the wood, you see like the dark areas. What is your tips, and how do you create those spaces and gaps?
Okay, so let's try another share screen. Wait. Share screen, screen share. It's not giving me the. It's not giving me the selection of. Ah, there we go. Okay, and then let's go back to this window. So you see that in Honda-san's Aquascape, there isn't a whole lot of shadow, right? It's not something that he thinks about very prominently. But even if I like come into Google here and just type the word Aquascape, right? Let's look for the number of layouts that have prominent shadows. And if any of these are your guys or people who are watching the stream, I apologize, but this is just for the sake of, explanation. So which of these layouts have, prominent, well-designed shadows? No, 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 no. Oh, maybe this one. The AGA Enchanting Aquascapes, but it's kind of if no. So what I'm trying to get at is the vast majority of aquascapes, even this one. This is one Tokyo Aquascaping Union ranked 4 in the world, by one of our older members. Like the vast majority of layouts that have existed have almost no thought process about how to use this shadow, and it's really important because if you've ever drawn a picture or you've ever learned drawing, you know that being able to use black is really critical. Being able to make a contrast is really critical. When you take a photo, having contrast is important. But we just looked through that page of Google, and almost every scape that we saw was just gray to white-ish, Like almost, if you squint your eyes and looked at those pictures, you'd see almost no distinction left and right. Now, that's your question about how. Well, let's take a look at my arm like this, right? Do you see any shadow at this point? No, right? So just like in this frame of my face, where the light is coming from above in the room, in the aquarium, the source of light will always come from above the aquarium. And so you have to adjust the hardscape in order to make the shadows. If I go like this, you won't get any shadow. If I hold it straight up, you won't get shadow. If I lay things sideways, there's no shadow, right? There will always be light. No matter how you put anything inside the aquarium or in a picture, there will always be light. But unless something is set specifically to cast a shadow, there won't be any. So if you see my arm like this, right? What did I do? I just pushed it forward. So every place that you see in an aquascape that's dark, it's essentially this, that someone has tilted the hardscape forward in order to make this angle. Now I can make it really dark. I can make it a little bit lighter. I can shift my arm so that you can see some details coming into the shadow versus pure black, right? Or I could start off with a pure black shadow and then put in something else underneath it that will add in extra details so that it looks like there's more details inside of the shadow that you're creating. But essentially, if you don't tilt anything forward, there won't be anything dark in the aquascape. And then just being able to see whether shadows exist or don't exist, this is already something that divides 90% of aquascapers with the top 10%. And then how you use those shadows, how you adjust them, where they need to be strongest, where they need to be weaker, where you need details being built into them, then you're going into like the real difference between the men and the boys, the top 1%, where like folks like us are clashing against each other in those top ranks. That said, like I mentioned here, there are a lot of, to my surprise, there's a lot of people who have a true mastery of this skill who didn't make it into the top 127 this year. So
Wow.
we'll see. Next year will be another wheelhouse for sure.
So it's really like from what you're saying, it's really just like it's really no one's safe when it comes to being in that top 127. It's like it's almost kind of as if like you would think this person in it, and you've seen their work before, and then when it comes out to results, they never made it. So it's that's always kind of interesting.
Actually, I would say more the opposite. For the most part, the people in the top 127 are hard to dethrone, and you often see the same names again year after year. But maybe it's because we went from 1,700 people to 2,400, or because I don't know. It's just like so. This year
like
really felt. Yeah, so this year really felt like an anomaly to me.
I don't know anyone past like really. I don't recognize names after 25. Like I don't know who. It's only the top 25. Okay, yeah, those are usually the people that will be there every year. But I mean like kind of like the 127s to like 50. Okay, well yeah, it's something I'm trying to incorporate too. Maybe some shadows into my next game. The next question is, and I'll put on my phone. Sorry, I was charging it. Okay, so are you open to hosting a Tokyo shop tour?
Oh, for people who come from Hawaii?
Yeah.
Absolutely, sure. I mean,
really?
Assuming that, okay, in the normal world, I would be.
Yeah.
in the COVID world, we'll see. Assuming Hawaiian Airlines doesn't go under, and you guys are able to make it out here. Not just joking, but assuming that the world comes back to normal, of course, absolutely. And I'll bring my buddy Yoshida-san as our tour guide to the true master of shops and ADA knowledge. I'll bring him along.
Yeah, that'll be great because I mean, I the person who asked this, I know him. I don't know if he wants me to reveal his name, but he's up there often. In a normal world, I'm usually up there once a year. So yeah, definitely, it'll be so cool to kind of have like that kind of an experience. Because me personally, when I'm up there, I only go to the specific ones that I'm accustomed to, and for me, finding some of these stores can be a pain. Like Aquaforest in Shinjuku, that's where I normally stay. I'm always there.
Yeah, it was a pain for me the first time I was looking for it too. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, because I'm just like, okay, wait, it's under here. No, it's not in there. And if I finally found it, what helped me find it? It's like right when you kind of like when you're exiting Shinjuku Station, you're going into that into the underground mall.
Yeah, Subnado.
You see two escapes that are there. I'm like, oh, okay, it's in here somewhere. And then it took me another while walking around the racetrack. That is.
Yeah. I've totally been there. In fact, as a foreign student, first time I came to Japan, even knowing where the shop is, I got lost a couple of times.
It's crazy, but it's such a relief to go to that. I really like that story. It's on like the smaller side compared to like Papao, but it's really enjoyable. It's 88.
A little bit on the expensive side though, but yeah, definitely nice. Like for the expensive shops, just go and buy the ADA stuff because it'll be the same price everywhere. But plants and other things, maybe try somewhere a little bit more locally. Would be my tip.
Yeah.
The other pro tip that I would give for like tourists who are going to come to Japan and they miss me, it's Tokyo Skytree at night. Go to the Sumida Aquarium at night on a weekday.
At night.
Yeah, if you don't have kids, if you do have kids, go during the day. They have lots of activities and crafts and stuff. Keep your kids occupied while you stare at Amano-san's aquarium. But like when you go at night on a weekday, and there's just like no one there, and like you and the last words from the master, and just find your zen spot, relax, and not just the ADA tanks, but throughout the aquarium, there's just a sense of a care for aesthetic, a care for experience. Things like the huge giant main tank that they have on the side. There's like
The big
a dark.
Iwagumi.
Huh? What? Sorry,
Is
what?
that is it? You talking about the dark? Not sorry, but the big Iwagumi, the glossostigma.
Oh no! I'm talking about the big main tank with the sharks and stuff. That's like the sand tiger shark and the rays and things.
Oh
Yeah,
that one. Yeah.
I mean, like you can have a big giant main tank display tank. Sea Life Park has one, but Sea Life Park's giant main tank doesn't have like a cave shadowed area on one side where swirlfish come together, and then there's two or four like stools for sitting down as red light comes in that show you what the swirlfish are doing, and you have a cocktail in your hand, relaxing in the evening. So that aquarium like cares about the experience for adults too at night, and it's like a totally different relaxing experience to go weekdays, nighttime. Definitely a great date spot.
Oh really? Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would love to go when it's like just peace and quiet because I do YouTube too, right? I like to film. I've done tours of Sumida and some of the fish stores. I've been there, but the pain is just getting people like just waiting for no one to be in front of the tank. And especially if you want to have better equipment, it's like, especially if I'm trying to. Now, when I went up, I was just trying to make something quick. Like I filmed it on my iPhone, my GoPro, was like, yeah, here it is, blah blah blah. This is
No. That's so. If when I go with my kids during the day, on the weekends, I don't even bother with Amano-san's aquarium. Like it's not. I might try to get them to take a look, but to them, it's just like Daddy's aquarium at home. So off to the penguins it is, And if I want to enjoy, then I figure out how to sneak out of work, and I go to the aquarium before going home and just like chill for a little bit.
I know it's like honestly like the other stuff is cool. What they have like the jellyfish and the penguins and the big tank and the reef stuff, but honestly the I just spend the most time just in the aquascape section and just looking at every tank there. I think there's like 5 tanks in that area. The 2 on the left side, the one with the big wood piece. When you first walk in up the stairs,
right?
You get the big Iwagumi, and then the other one with the tiger, like the tiger lotus, and I forget the rainbow.
You got it.
Yeah. So, but I always go and I always observe each tank. It's always cool to see how the tanks go. Now, the always the thing I always just can't get my mind wrapped around. I know it's done by ADA. I'm just thinking, how much does it cost? Like, if someone were to recreate this somewhere else, the solar ones, there's rolls of solar ones, right? I don't think they changed it yet.
No, Grand Solars, I believe, right? Were they solar ones or the Grand Solars? I think so, Grand Solars. I could be wrong.
It's Grand Solar. Yeah, I remember now because I remember it was the most expensive, or it was like not the regular one, it was the expensive one, and then so that like it was like 3x3s for one tank, 3x3s for the other. I'm thinking, jeez.
I mean, like when you're thinking about the big tanks, you're already thinking about a scale where the architecture of the building has been designed for the purpose of housing that aquarium.
Right.
You're on that level. Like that, there's gonna be a concrete base with a sump underneath that's a part of the building before you even install that giant aquarium that has the wood inside of it. So there's the entire system developed from the aquarium that was in Amano-san's house to be created at Sumida before the master comes in with the wood from the Amazon.
It's crazy. Like it's just the concept. Like trying to recreate this at home. Like that would never happen. Okay, moving. Oh, my friend was said after we go around the stores in Tokyo, we head up to Niigata and we check out the gallery.
Sounds like the perfect road trip.
It honestly does, and I've always wanted to go. I always made it so that the next trip I was in Japan, I would go, and then COVID happened, so that kind of screwed me up. But I'll get there eventually. Okay. Next question, and I'm just finishing up the hack ones. Okay. So, how do you decide on what type of fish to put in your scape? And you kind of said like one. you stray away from fish that eat plants, like a bunch of the Tokyo fish. I don't know if that Tokyo bitterling. I know that's the one that I saw at the Sumida.
Bitterlings, yeah.
Bitterlings. I don't know if that eats plants, but that was the one I was thinking. I don't know if that could have been an option, but do you stray away from fish that it distracts from the design of the overall feel of the aquascape? Like what goes into this?
Yeah, so the fish I was thinking about last year was the pale chub, the Japanese pale chub or oikawa, but they do eat plants. So I used Borrelia spiceri instead. Sometimes the fish can come first, and then the rest of the scape evolves from the fish. Like that's the case with almost all of Ono Masashi's work. And it's also the case with Fukada-san's 2016 Grand Prize layout. The glass catfish came first, and the rest of the scape derived from that. And sometimes the fish come in after. For instance, in Fukada-san's 2018 Grand Prize layout, he chose the moon tetra, moon Congo tetra from Africa in order to help complete the world of Anubias, the environment of Anubias. My case, 2018, I chose Gertrude's butterfly, the rainbow butterfly fish, because I needed a fish that would, it would be very visible in front of a black background. Gertrude's butterfly has white fins. 2, I like the idea of butterflies like flittering around in an Amazon rainforest type setting. What I was really imagining was the Museum of Science in San Francisco, where there's a giant bio-orb, and if you climb the ramp all the way to the top, in the canopy there's wild South American butterflies. So I chose the butterfly rainbow fish as the fish that would, with its white colors, stand out in shadow, kind of like this melancholy. It's not joyful like a bright orange butterfly fish would be. It's kind of like, in Japanese we say setsunai, or sad, like a kind of deep, like emotional sadness or spirituality. They're kind of like ghosts, right? Ghost colors to a butterfly that's flittering about in this cave. And I didn't have a current in that layout, so I wanted a fish that felt like it was floating. Next aquarium, that was truly dedicated, Amanogawa, that was truly dedicated to recreating the Japanese river hill stream. And so I chose a fish that was as close as possible to the Oikawa hill chub. This year, I mentioned that I wanted a fish that kind of had a long linear body, similar to like the long linear shape of the aquascape itself. And then I thought it would be even cooler if I could have something like almost predatory looking. Didn't get there, but that would have been my ideal quality if I had more time to consider fish without COVID going on. But what I really like about the other reason why I wasn't considering Inlet Cypress originally, despite knowing about this fish and really loving it, was that they're very similar family group to Borrelia spiceri, my fish from last year, and I wanted to break out, do something different.
Yeah.
After keeping it though, man, their personalities are totally different. So I'm glad I tried. Borrelia spiceri are kind of badasses. They're like, yeah, we're the kings, we know it. You come and give us food. We're here to eat. Nothing scares us at all. Inlet Cypress, I would prefer kind of like they're pansies. they're slightly bigger. They're like they're just bigger, overly beautiful white cloud minnows, essentially. But but the reason why I chose them was because of that body length. That here, let me bring up the layout again one more time. I'm really proud of the way the fish turned out in this aquascape too. Like, let's see here.
And does that like goes in, like when you're photographing it, you have to make sure the fish are in the right way. Like make sure the school is looking good.
Yeah, and this year I didn't have Ono-san to help me either, so that was a pain. But on the other hand, because I didn't have Ono-san, I could take as much time as I wanted. I didn't have to worry about his time, so I could take like do 2 photo shoots, take like 8 hours each, and be like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. But like I'm really happy with the scene, just them lined up here underneath the reflection of the water. I felt like it looked super natural when I was editing the photo. And what I'm really happy about this fish is its shape and size and features, because the body shape length, the long skinniness of the body kind of rhymes with the main wood, but it's standing stripes, the thin standing stripes that you don't see on a whole lot of fish. Those rhyme with the background trees. There's that rhyming quality to it. And they have this kind of shining, flickery body too. And I thought that kind of rhymed with the mirrors. So they have all these qualities that kind of reverberate, have some type of EI show, like some kind of good chemistry with the aquascape itself. And that's the type of quality you're trying to look for, because a fish is really the last, your fish choice is really your last big weapon, your last chance to appeal to the judges and show like a certain unique personality to the aquascape. And even so, like, the vast majority of the top 127, you'll find cardinal tetras, green neons, and even now, cardinal tetras, green neons, regular neons, and harlequin rasboras, just like super standard fare. Very few breakout. I mean, it was really unusual to see so many tanks with angelfish this year. That was like the big. That was the big. Altums are back. What's going on? But I mean, even Altum angels, it's a classic fish, and people were. I'm pretty sure that Josh and Fukada-san were using those fish because they wanted to have a classic image for this 20th anniversary. But like, really weird, unique fish choices, like, are still, or like some kind of unique, special fish choice for this aquascape is not something that you see prominently in the contest, even now. Even after the best example of it ever in Fukada-san's 2016 Mighty Cave layout with the glass catfish. Even after that, people are still super conservative and boring about their fish choices for the most part. So this is something I definitely challenge people to consider.
Mm-hmm. I see. Yeah, for sure. And then kind of just like a follow-up, I always notice that there's always like maybe like one certain species per aquascape. Like you see your cast tanks, right? You only have one species. Is that kind of like the way to go? I know sometimes people will put a mono shrimp in there as well, but
yeah,
is it just like, is that just kind of like what's just like the way it is, the style it is?
And the mono shrimp too, you would remove them ideally if you could, but I'm way too lazy to do that. But like, it has to do with what I said earlier about simplifying and not distracting the audience. If you have a lot of different fish, then there's a lot of different personalities going on. It's you want to distract as little as possible, and you want to be as clear as possible about what it is that you're trying to tell the judges. One of the reasons I was really confident in putting this aquascape together is even if each of these windows I made is different, they're all connected by the element of those standing trees. There's a certain uniformity that is valuable for focusing the audience on what it is that you want them to see. So if you have like 2 or 3 different species, it can be a major distraction. One is always the safest, best way to go. Like 80% of the time, one main species is going to be the best way to go. I'd say the exceptions to that are like in a Brazilian layout, where you're kind of like overwhelming the audience with colors, and the whole point is to show a diversity, a rainbow of nature. In that case, maybe a rainbow of fish is the right way to go, with different species.
Yeah.
Or you're trying to show a special interaction between 2 species, the way they cohabit or something like that. Like if you have that kind of idea in mind, it could be really interesting. And there's like with everything with art, there's always an exception to the rule, but one species of fish as the main has a pretty good founding for why you do it.
Oh, I see. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. You don't want to take too much from the aquascape. Okay, so next question. So after doing your concept drawing, how many mock-ups do you guys physically create, or do you even do mock-ups?
By mock-ups, do you mean like the physical hardscapes, or do you mean the
I
um
think that's
like or
what
drawings?
um I think just playing around with the hardscape, like
Mm.
you create something and like, okay, this works, and I think that's what the question's asking. Like, I mean, and you kind of went
Let's
there
see
where like
here.
you take like 3 months to do it, right? But is it just like a continuous adding on to stuff for that 3 months, or do you create something like, nah, over time, like, nah, we can change that, or do you just, yeah? So I guess it's kind of like that too.
It depends. I've ripped out entire sections of it in Aquascape and completely rebuilt them. I was doing major changes to this layout even 1 week before its completion. But I think of instead of like drafts, I do see it more as modifications onto the existing until completion. So like
Uh,
this is a let me share an image that I'm actually going to use for the next video. But um, one image, it's fine. So like let's see here. I got it open. Now let me try to get it screen shared. Yeah. So this is a picture of me actually. Sorry. Let's see here. So this
yep.
is a picture of me actually working on the layout
Oh,
in its early stages. So you can see that I've actually drawn a picture on the front of the glass, and I'm piecing the wood together. All of this is manzanita, by the way. Before I
yeah.
started putting other pieces of wood from the from the Chinese source. And I think it's all manzanita, probably like 80% manzanita. But
And you just glue it on
um,
top of the
yeah,
different manzanita pieces. Yeah.
so you can see that I'm pretty exact about the way I go about things. I finished the concept art and I pretty much build it exactly. This is actually a bad habit of mine. It's probably better to do what Fukatta-san does, is like put up a check image and then kind of make check, because by doing that you discover where something is better. Where you discover a new way to do it better than your original drawing. If you do it my way, you'll have a bad habit of making it exactly like the drawing and not modifying it. So I've had to like while doing this purposefully think through like is this really the best option? Is there a better way of doing it than what I've drawn so far? Next year I might not do it this method just because I want to have more of those happy accidents where I discover something better than my original intention. But
Mm.
the advantage of doing it this way is that um, you're more objective about whether you've actually made something or not. So for people who are not yet confident in their skills to make exactly what it is that they're trying to make, or they're still getting a gauge for how far is that actually, like if I put a piece of wood this big in, how big does it actually look in the hole in the photo? For people who are still not confident in their their sense for size and space, I would say that my method is the easier way, the more objective way to keep yourself honest, but comes with less happy accidents.
Hmm. Yeah, this is actually a really cool shot to see. You can really just see the skeleton of the skate. That's really cool, and you see the lights there. Okay, all right, moving on. Um, we have a few more, and then we gotta get to the chat ones. Can filter these stories. Okay, so this is what inspires you to create, even replicate from real life inspiration. So like nature. Also examples they give with movies they've seen, a dream, discussion with a
Mm.
mentor. So really, what gave you, I mean, inspiration for coming up with, your theme and your idea?
learn from nature is the most important thing, I'd say. Learning from nature is what we'll always say. You'll hear every aquascaper say. But I think, um,
88 model.
but the interpretation of learning, there's a lot of different ways to learn from nature. And I would say that most people are not learning as much from nature as they think they are. Um, Looking and observing and appreciating is one thing that you can do. It's very important. It helps build your instincts, your natural sense for the way nature works. But in the type of diorama aquascape that I'm talking about, what you really need to do is see. Instead of just look and think, interpret it the natural way. Like see, what angle is the reflection of that tree on the surface of the water? Or, I know that's a white tree, but is its shadow actually white? Or is its shadow kind of purpley colored? Like, or I know that those plants are actually, have big lily pads on that pond. But how big do they look relative to the size of the rock next to the pond, right? That's another level of thinking you can do, like actual objective measurement. See the way that a 3-year-old would see, not the way that your brain has learned to interpret and master things based on instinct. And then the third way to learn from nature is to pick up on concepts. Like I mentioned, we talked a lot about sunken ships in this lecture, but what is it about sunken ships that's interesting? Like, it's interesting that different life forms come and congregate around it and make it their own space. It's interesting that it's dark and scary on the inside, or that there are windows and pockets that go into an outside world. Or what's interesting about a glass catfish? The fact that it's kind of pale and doesn't have its own color. It's there but not there at the same time. Or it has, an image that kind of rhymes with like a dark, spooky cave. That's the kind of fish you'd imagine living in a place like that. So picking up on the qualities of things that exist in nature and thinking, okay, what is really interesting about that quality and how can I expand that? And then pick one or two of those things that you think are really important and that you want to drive home in your concept.
I see. Yeah, that's really great advice, and I'm gonna have to watch the stream because I'm gonna have to take notes on all of this stuff when I escape this year's tank. And yeah, I really agree with that. Just the basic concept of and you went really in depth with it, and I really like that. But just the basic concept of taking from nature, something that I always try to do, whether that is going on a hike and I see. Like sometimes like one of my previous games, what I did was I actually went on a hike, and this is super simple, but I just saw like this wood piece in between a bunch of bushes, and so I kind of built my scape around that, and so kind of I model things off of nature a bunch, other than like iwagumis because that's just yeah, but yeah, so. Yeah, I think that's really great, and I'm gonna have to come back and take notes.
So I think when most people think about learning from nature, they just imagine Amano-san with the camera out in nature and being like, "Oh, nirvana, oh, amazing." But it has to be an active, engaged experience, not just one that you're experiencing. This is important, to accept the emotional and the beauty that's around you. But you have to be doing the interpreting part, the working part of the exercise as well.
Exactly.
Sorry, before we get to another question, do you mind if I use the restroom real quick? I'll be right back.
Sure. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. And then I think this is probably like after you come back, it's probably like final 1 or 2 questions. But yeah. So if you have any final questions for Steven, submit them down below. And then angles are everything. Hey, where were you? Jesse? What's up, cop? Where were you guys? But yeah, no. So yeah, submit any final. Yes, Steven does have a channel. Lisa did link it up before. So if you just scroll up in the chat, you can see his channel and his videos where he goes really in depth. I don't know if you watched it for your inspiration, but he really goes into depth and to really fully explain his aquascapes and it's really well. And if you're looking for inspiration, you're looking for knowledge, definitely check that out. And especially the ones that I've seen before, it's crazy. And the one of the really entertaining videos I've seen Steven in was the Green Aqua one. I think that was Escape Off. I really forget, but that was really cool. Um, you were on 3 streams. Oh, I see. Okay, okay. Now I was wondering where Jesse was because oh, so you guys just came from a stream. Oh, okay, I see. Lisa's here. I don't know if Lisa's still here, but I can try to find this link. And again, yeah, any final questions? Second rank IAPLC 2020. So really a pro here. Yeah, this is the most I can do. Yeah, this doesn't help, does it? That Lisa, can you link up Steven's channel, please, for Jesse? I noticed the top scapes are in large tanks. Seems like a large tank is needed to place high quality. If one was this small tank, okay, yeah, perfect question. Yeah, because that was like 120, so it's not so. All right, okay, so this next question is: do you have a magic number of like a lucky number of plant species that you use in your aquarium, like Mr.
What, you like Josh's 13?
Josh, yeah, Josh Sims 13. Yeah, so kind of like this. you don't have like superstition like that.
No.
Yeah,
No,
I mean, because I will always just add in like when I'm done planning, I'm like, okay, I can probably put some newbies, in this area, and especially with this tank too, like what you did with the pangolino, Anubias. That's something I probably will do with other species of plants, just like just kind of in the front, like, oh, this could work here, and I'll just plant it. So it's kind of hard to do that magic number, especially when you're doing a bigger tank. But okay, so next.
Don't worry about it. That's more like one of Josh's quirks than some master secret or anything like that. And we all have our own quirks. We all have our own predilections, but being true to yourself makes your own style stronger. So I wouldn't call that like a master rule of Aquascape or anything. I would call that Josh knowing how to listen to his own habits and really make those things come forward in order to define a unique Josh Sims style.
And hey, man, it works.
It works for him, but the thing is, you have to think about which things are important to learn from Josh and which are the things that you should be impressed with just because they're his and his alone, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I won't take up because for me, that limits me. Just 13 plants, especially in a bigger scape like this one, that's going to limit me. But, I mean, I know. Just look at his tanks. It's amazing what he does. Okay, I think this should be the final question. I noticed the top scapes are in large tanks. It seems like a large tank needs to place highly, so if 1 meters. If one was to enter with a smaller tank, so probably like a nano, like 10 gallons or less, 10 to 5 gallon range, could a high placement still be possible?
How do we define high placement?
So let's just go relative. Okay, let's just go with 120, 127. You're in the top 127. You get. I mean, I'm not too sure. Does 88 do a live stream every year?
No. This is only the second time it's been done. I think in 2015 it was done, though the results had already been announced. But in 2015 we had a live stream instead of a party because Amano Takashi had passed away, and that had to be accounted for. This is not how we would do it in a normal year. I actually kind of liked it because it makes it fair around the world,
Everyone can see it, yeah. Even though a party is cool. This was
it made it fair around the world, even in the timing of how people were announced, because otherwise I'd always have like my envelope like a month before everyone would be like being in Japan and all. But let's see, back to the question of the size of the aquarium. We talked about it just in this conversation that I felt limited by 120, 45, 45. I felt like it was too difficult to compete with Josh and Shaq and Fukada-san and Pryogi-san as well if I was limited to that size. So I think that for, well, let me just say this. In the hobby, just as in all things, success is really defined by what your parameters are. When I approach the contest, when anyone approaches the contest or part of the hobby, you're going to have more success if you put a goal up for yourself. Like, is my goal to just have an aquarium in my living room that makes everyone go, wow? Is my goal to have this aquarium be a place where I can really enjoy double S-class red cherry shrimp or something like that?
Yeah.
Is this an aquarium that is meant to become the grand prize winner of the IAPLC, to stand atop the entire world? Then, from your goal, what comes after that will be different. And there are keys to entering the top 127 that are different from entering the top 27, which are different, again, from the top 7, 3, 1. And to enter into the top 127, there will always be a certain number of 60 centimeter and lower tanks that are in the 127. Wow. Partially because, honestly, commercial reasons. 60 centimeters is the standard size for hobbyists in Japan and in many countries in the world. So having those examples to look up for is absolutely critical for the ongoing. It's critical for helping to build the hobby, and it's critical for the continuation of the hobby. I'm always very happy to see 60 centimeter and lower tanks that have really pushed it in the 127. Then other works like Felipe Oliveira from Portugal, and was ranked 10 one time with a 10-gallon tank, and that is permanently in history and why he's always called the Tree Man. People need to look up that skate later. Beautiful. Okay, but if your goal is to be in the top 27, now you're really competing against the greatest layouters in the world. And what are you competing them? Like, what playing field are you competing against them in? Like the impact of the layout, the depth of the layout, the scale, the size, all of like, you will be at a natural disadvantage against those aquascapes without a tank of significant size. Used to be a requirement of the Tokyo Aquascaping Union to have 2 tanks that were bigger than 75 centimeters. Though things got less stringent after Fukada-san won, and then it was like Fukada-san won, Japan did it, But when I joined, I only needed to have the 120 centimeter tank. But you are going to be a natural disadvantage, and I just feel like to be in the top 7 these days, it's going to be hard without at least 50 centimeters of depth. Height is, you should have at least 45. I feel like I actually wish that my tank had more height, like 60 centimeters, because with height, you can always lower the water level. Mm-hmm. You can always lower the water level and create a shallower tank aquarium, but you can never, make a taller. You can never give yourself more vertical canvas to work with unless your aquarium is tall from the beginning. So at least 50 centimeters of depth. I think at least 50 centimeters of depth, at least 45 centimeters height, and then at least 110 wide if you want to be serious about competing in the top levels. You see a lot of 150 centimeter wide, 150 centimeter tanks, and a lot of 120. I honestly, at this point, don't feel like 150 is a big advantage over 120, but definitely 50 plus is a different game compared to 45 and less. That's my experience between the 2 aquariums that I've worked with before.
I forget the measurements of my 75P, but it's definitely
if it's 75P, then it's 75, 45 depth, 45 height. Okay, and so that's a very it's a very truncated aquarium compared to most of the top works. But it's a very interesting, unique size. And if you want to make it more like the 120s, just drop the water level down to like 30 centimeters or something.
That's what I was thinking of doing, because it came with some holes at the top for filtration.
Right.
You literally drilled it in the tank. Pissed me off. But man, the work maybe work to my advantage, because yeah, you're right. If I want to make it kind of like that, I got to keep the water level low. So maybe I can play that to my advantage and keep that water level lower end. Yeah. Okay. I guess if you want to answer it again, I mean, just go over it really briefly, because you did earlier. Steven, I find so much inspiration from your scapes. Where do you find your inspiration from? Just
So we were talking about learning from nature before, and I talked about the different types of learning from nature. Receptively taking in like the emotional experience, the beauty of nature is one way. Seeing versus looking, objective, kind of like a scientist mindset, objective measuring, objective observation of what you see is another way. And the third way, conceptually, thinking about the things that are interesting to you. What qualities do different parts of nature have? That to me is like the most important one, and the one from which I draw my inspiration for scapes, because what I'm really looking for is an interesting story, some interesting quality of nature. Like the standing trees have a majesty to them. They have a sadness to them, but they also have like an endurance to them, because trees have a kind of enduring sense about them. Or like the glass catfish has an ephemeral feel to it. Or like the butterfly rainbow fish feels like a butterfly, feels like a spirit almost. Picking up on those interesting things, like those interesting qualities of something from nature, is probably the best way. It's the best starting point for coming up with a bigger concept for an aquascape, I feel. Pick up on the one or two that you really care about, and then think about it more. Like, what is it that makes that interesting? Why does that connect with me on an emotional level? And the rest of the aquascape should play to those qualities to expand them as big as they can be.
I see. Okay, yeah. Hopefully that kind of answered your question. And yeah, this is my buddy Jesse, who that was the person I was talking about, who modeled your 75 or his 75 off of your 2019 IAPLC.
Honored. Thank you very much, Jesse.
Yeah, so that was a really cool tank, honestly. And I remember when we were a while back, we were just looking at it and just trying to piece it together how he could replicate it. But so I really wish we did this last year. That would have helped us a lot.
Nah.
No, but overall, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, don't be strangers. Don't be strangers.
Yeah, I'll definitely come to you if we need more advice. Because I'm gonna need it, especially with this new tank. I guess it's my first time going bigger than a 60p, so we gotta play around, see what goes on. But oh man, this is a good stream. 2 hours and almost reaching 2.5 hours. So I think it's like dinner time there. You should probably get some dinner.
Nah, I don't want to hear what my wife will say after this.
Yeah, it's like late time here too. It's like 11:23. But hey, Steven, thank you so much for coming out. Everyone has really appreciates it. To hear all the advice that you give and all the knowledge you have to share. It's really amazing.
My honor, bro. I've been meaning to. I feel like valuing your original community, valuing your roots, and the people who pushed. I wouldn't be doing this, as I mentioned, if not for Robert, Jojo, a guy named Steve who worked at Pets Plus before. Without those guys, like pushing me and encouraging me and giving me the lift that I needed in my high school days in order to start off on this journey. So I am honored that I had like this platform to come back to Has and contribute to my original club. I hope to see if more Aquascapers came out in Hawaii, more members of the Aquascapers Collective join from the islands. That would be an honor for me as well. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I mean, hey man, you went to Punahou too. Kind of gives me hope that, you know, someone like me can make it out there. Hey, but thanks again.
Absolutely.
And then my buddy says, when we're in Tokyo, man, give us a tour, give us group rates. We'll be up there. COVID's over.
Bro. Yeah.
And yeah, so thank you so much to Steven. You know, we can't wait for you to come back, and you can, you know, hopefully come to the HAS meeting when you're back here. But thank you to everyone for watching. It was a great stream. Thank you for everyone who stayed throughout. It was a long one, but it was a really good one. And we will see everyone next month in is it October, September, October? It's gonna be Halloween next month, so hopefully we can have another cool guest, and we'll see everybody then. Right. So thank you, Steven. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night or day wherever you are in the world.
Take it easy, folks. Have a good one.